What up guys, it's Jules here from Whatculture.com with a brand new review just for you. Today I'm going to be looking at Spider-Man Homecoming. Is it good? Is it great? We just have to watch to find out. Here we go. Now the first thing to talk about is that this isn't an origin story that we've seen before. This is more sort of like an introduction story for Spider-Man as he's slotted into the MC universe, and it's done pretty well. We don't see him get bitten by a spider, we don't see Uncle Ben being killed, but what we do focus on is him being a student and him dealing with, day-to-day life, which is actually very different and quite fresh for the tale. We know about the story, so this is now time to update it and move forward with it. So big plus. At its heart, this film is pretty much a comedy with action bits thrown in. It's less sort of Amazing Spider-Man with its po-faced seriousness, and more like Ant-Man where it's a bit jovial and over the top. That being said, the comedy is a little hit and miss. I would say that I laughed more than I didn't laugh, but that's not saying much because I'm always laughing. What I didn't laugh at, though, was the twist that came sort of towards the end, in which I'm not sure if I can tell you this. I'm looking at Ben. Can I tell people about the spoilers? I can't. Cool, you have to watch our roundtable to talk about the spoilers that are in there, but there is a big late game twist, and it does kind of change the tone of the film, and it's done really well because we didn't see it coming. So I know what you're thinking. Jules, you magnanimous beast. Is Tom Holland a good Spider-Man? The answer is a very short one. Yes. He is great in this role. It's almost like he's been purpose-built in a factory to become Peter Parker. And not to mention the fact that he looks quite nice, has lovely hair, and maybe I've got a bit of a man crush on him. Although maybe that's weird because he's a minor. I'll let the law figure that one out. Person who doesn't have good hair but does have a good body though is Michael Rubberneck Keaton, and he plays the Vulture fantastically with his high-tech, gruff, kind of lispy voice. Is it a lisp, Ben? Does he have a speech impediment? I feel bad if I just say that, rag on the guy, but he was fantastic either way. What makes the Vulture so great is he's not just a sympathetic villain, which I'll go into in a minute, but he's actually shown as being quite powerful. The film shows that a period of 8 years has passed since one of the opening sequences, and in that time he's really come to terms with his powers of the giant mechanical suit with its razor blade wings. Not only does he look cool, but he's actually a really good force to be reckoned with. That being said, the motivations behind his crime sprees are actually pretty sympathetic. I mean, he starts off by saying that the Avengers caused all of this mess that he's got to clean up, and then he has his livelihood taken away from him. And you think to yourself, yeah, maybe that's quite understandable. That being said, he does and but still, and that's what makes him so great is the way he bounces off Spider-Man, because on one side you've got a kid who's coming to terms with his powers, and another guy who's very confident and able to use his well, and would do anything to make sure that his family is safe. Now time to talk about the supporting cast, but there's so many of them I'm gonna need a bit of a hand. Ben.
Flash.
Oh, Flash, yeah. He's a dweeb, and to be honest, I don't know why Peter is at all intimidated by him, or why he's cool. To be honest, if it was me in Peter's position, I'd probably just walk up and deck the lad. He's probably the worst thing about this film, and is at best a pretty bad comic relief. But there are lots of people who are much better.
Liz.
Did you say lists or Liz?
Lists.
Liz is the love interest of this story, and it's actually a really quite compelling narrative between the two. There's some awkward bits between her and Holland, but it's intentional, and it works really well. She's a lovely character, and I didn't want to see anything bad happen to her. But does it? Not really.
Ned.
Ned, as in the man on the chair, the large lad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, large Ned, big Ben Nedis. I'm in two minds about this character because he's used as a comic foil. Basically, he's only there to spout either quotable lines or set up Peter for his jokes. And because of that, he doesn't really have much depth. He's just a nerd, a fat nerd. He wears a hat and is one neckbeard away from saying "milady." But yeah, he's unoffensive, which is probably the worst or best things I can say about him.
Karen.
Oh, Karen, right, okay. Without venturing into spoiler territory, she is the voice inside Peter's suit. She provides some very good comedy, but I can't really talk much more about that, other than just to say she's a welcome addition to Spider-Man's double act.
Tony Stark.
Okay, so Tony Stark in this film, I was really worried about when I saw the trailers. I thought that he was going to be a huge thing and he was going to steal the show, and that all people would be talking about was, oh, wasn't Iron Man the best bit about the Spider-Man film? Luckily, that doesn't happen. He's actually kept quite far away from the action, very literally in some cases, and only appears in a few scenes in order to guide and mentor Peter. I really enjoyed the way that he did so, because it was the classic, Robert Downey Jr. acting with, comical quips, a bit of backhanded compliments to himself, and it made me want to see more of them together on screen, which is great because I would have hated it if I'd seen the film and gone away saying, well, that was Iron Man 3.5. This is definitely a Spider-Man film.
Aunt May.
Ooh, wee, sexy young Aunt May. Very conflicting feelings I had there. She obviously in the comic books is very old, almost implausibly old. But in this one, she's young and very attractive, and people hit on her. I think that she didn't overstay her welcome. I thought that she was a good compliment to Peter, and it provided a very good joke at the end of the film, which I won't spoil for you. So yeah, thumbs up all round. So in terms of presentation, the first thing that anyone's going to notice or ask about is, does the suit look good? Yes. They all do. And in fact, there's a good integration between the suits. You actually get to see how Peter puts on the suit, which is quite nice as well, that it's all baggy and then it gets tightened up. And because it's made by Tony Stark, it's got quite a few techie bits in it. Quite a few techie bits. And in fact, it's got more gadgets than what's in your mum's bedside table. There's also a heads-up display, which is a main feature of the suit. In fact, the best way to describe it is that it's like Iron Man's suit, but on Spider-Man, which is great because that means that you get all the same presentational devices that they use, such as the first-person perspective or the point of view thing. That's fantastic, because I mean, that's a camera angle that's kind of reserved to people who wear suits, and you don't really get that with Thor's. You don't see through Thor's helmet, do you? It's a great way of making the audience feel immersed in the action that they're seeing, which is fantastic. However, because of this kinetic editing style, jumping between perspectives, it means that some of the action sequences can become very confusing. Now, that doesn't take away from the overall feeling of the film, but it definitely was noticeable in a few of the bigger action set pieces, and we kind of left the cinema feeling that maybe it would have been better if they didn't switch so much. But again, it hasn't harmed the overall product. One of the best devices that they used was actually at the beginning of the film, in which Peter's showing a sort of vlog style of the events of Civil War. Like, you get to see him take Captain America's shield. And what that does is not only set him up straight away as being immersed in the MCU, but it also shows him as being a kid, just being almost like an ADHD victim, just not able to leave technology alone and just documenting everything and anything. It creates for some great comedy, you get to learn the character quickly, and it's a fantastic visual piece as well. So the question is Spider-Man Homecoming worth watching? You are damn right it is. It was a very enjoyable flick, and I left the cinema feeling very pleasantly surprised by what I saw. I was expecting it to tread the same sort of tonal beats as an origin story, but I'm so glad it didn't. And it was jam-packed full of action, comedy, and a few plot twists that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So that's why we're going to give Spider-Man Homecoming a 4-star rating. And that's our review for Spider-Man Homecoming. I hope you enjoyed it because it was a kind of new review format that we're trying out for the films on this channel. So let us know what you think about it in the comments section below. And if you want to check out our roundtable review, which discusses spoilers in a lot more depth as well as a lot of the other narrative pieces as well, then make sure you tune in for that. As always, like, share and subscribe. And I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.